this morning I want to show you a patient that has soaked her foot for years and actually has helped her. Now we're told that diabetic patients shouldn't soak their feet. That's not always the case, and the research that shows the things against that, is that really believable? Is it really true? Because in some wounds, like traumatic wounds, soaking is actually done periodically and done by most traumatic surgeons that treat traumatic wounds. Also, our ingrown nails, whether they're diabetic or not, we have them soak their feet. So look at this. This is a patient, this is a foot care patient we have for years. You can see she has a lot of circulatory issues. We've seen her for over 20 years. She has recurring calluses and corns and thick nails. Has a callus here, and here. So this is a typical foot care patient. Now, one thing about her, we've seen her for 20 years. We've seen her through thick and thin, even through hospitalizations. And she ran into an issue where she was getting chronic ulcers repeatedly. She's not a candidate for surgical correction. She's had diabetes for a long time. Her first flare-up with her vascular issue was in 1984, 37 years ago. Actually, 10 or 15 years ago, her foot got so bad that we actually thought she wouldn't keep her foot. Even the vascular surgeons were pretty dismal about whether or not she would even retain her foot. Now, as time has gone, her foot has gotten better. One of the things that actually made her foot better is she began to soak her foot. And in the process of soaking the foot, we do know that soaking the foot can do things that are harmful to diabetics, like dry their skin, but it also can do things that are helpful, like reduce infection. Now, obviously, the patients that we let soak have to have the ability to know when to do it, when not to, when to make sure it's not too hot, and things of this nature. The thing that we get into in our society, we're putting responsibility too much on us as doctors. Some responsibility is on the patients too. As a matter of fact, by giving them responsibility, it gives them control over their own condition, and it actually gives them a way to make themselves better. So not only is there like some issues related to the fact that the patient feels like they're doing something for themselves, there's also physical, actual hard evidence that it does work. This is a patient right here that we can show this for. Now, Miss Adeline, when you were first beginning to have these recurrent bouts of infection over and over, when did you start soaking your foot? It was probably about 6 years ago. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So now, tell us how your foot was before you started soaking your foot and all the things you were having wrong with it.
Calluses and up on my foot, they always be thick calluses.
Yeah.
And then they'd be kind of hard,
Okay.
if I don't get it soaked. Now, if I soak them, they soften up some.
Right, and that helps you.
It helped me a lot.
And obviously your foot looks a lot better. Now, you've also been hospitalized several times because of infection coming from these calluses and things like that. So anyway, so we see this not only in our diabetic patients and other patients too. Another example is a patient I have that had chronic MRSA infections over and over. A young diabetic patient in his 30s, and works every day and began having infections over and over and over. We antibioticed him to death, me and all the other guys here in town, and eventually we sent him to infectious disease. He went to Duke, and their treatment protocol was to soak his foot in a basin of water with Clorox, a little 1 cup full of Clorox, and it began to diminish some of that. Now, he dried out a lot. We put him on the soaks as well. He's not had another MRSA infection since he began to soak his foot.